We wish you a Merry Christmas and a
Paul Dale Roberts, welcome back to Skywatchers Radio, my friend. It's so good to have you back on.
Jackal, thank you for having me on. So I just can't wait to get into the show.
Listen, I was giving the audience a kind of a tease. Of course, we went over the military records and stuff. But give the audience a brief rundown about your history as best as you could tell it, because, man, you've lived one heck of a life. And you're still a young guy. You're not like an old fogey or anything. You're still a pretty young, hip dude. So give us a little bit of a rundown about all the stuff, a little bit of everything that you've done in the last 30 years.
Well, from 73 to 76, I went in the Army.
It's a little bit more than 30, but that's good. Go ahead.
73 to 76 in the Army as an MP military policeman. And there was a major drug problem going on over in Germany, so I was working with the drug suppression team. It was CID, Criminal Investigation Division. And, Jackal, you're going to have to excuse me, but I had a root canal yesterday, and so my teeth still kind of hurt. So anyway, hang in there with me. Yeah. So it was pretty bad. So anyway, I did the North thing in Germany.
So if you
Germany. Huh?
If you start slurring a little bit, guys, we understand. Don't worry.
Okay. So anyway, traveled throughout Germany, and they had a thing called the Khaki Mafia, and they were doing everything from prostitution, running drugs, to Amsterdam, dealing narcotics out there and everything else. So I was very, very busy with that. I was staying in nice 5-star hotels, wearing civilian clothes, pretending I was a drug dealer myself, and buying drugs and testifying at Article 32s and court-martials. So in 1976, I got out, and by hanging out in a lot of discotheques, I learned how to dance. So I became a dancer, a professional dancer with Arthur Murray's dance studios, and I danced for 205 hours, 8.5 days for the Guinness Book of World Records. And so I was a disco king for a while. Did a little bit of firefighting in between there. 1979, I went back into the Army, went into military intelligence, and I was inspired by watching a James Bond movie. I was sitting there watching James Bond, and I said, what is it that those military intelligence guys did? So before I knew it, I was talking to an Army recruiter, signing the dotted line, and became a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst of a photo interpretation center in Korea, in Seoul, Korea. So that's where I learned that military intelligence knew something about UFOs, and we can get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And then in 1986, I got out, worked for the state, got into comic books, became a journalist for various comic book magazines. And then I was dating a girl that was a ghost hunter, and before I knew it, I was writing stories about the paranormal and becoming a paranormal investigator. Now I own HPI International, which is Hegel Intelligence, Hegel Paranormal Intelligence. And what we do is, there was a George Hegel who was a philosopher, and he took the pros and cons of any given thing, and with the pros and cons, and came out with a conclusion. And that's basically what we do with our group.
Now, what do you specialize in mostly, paranormal-wise? UFO hunting, ghost hunting. What's been your specialty?
Okay. Well, one thing is there's like a billion ghosts out there. It seems like everybody dies and everybody becomes a ghost. Okay. So
that's what
there's
they say,
a lot of So there's a lot of cases with ghosts. We try to do other cases like in Mount Shasta with UFOs, Bigfoot. I've been to Skinwalker Ranch. I've been to Area 51. I did travel internationally. That's why we're international. I just came back from Guatemala, where there's a lot of ghosts there because the former president slaughtered about 1,500 of the citizens over there. They had genocide going on over there for a while.
That would create a lot of ghosts, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would create a lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
And the president that they have now has released the former president out of prison. And they said that he's committing genocide now. What was kind of interesting about Guatemala is that every security guard, every policeman, and every soldier was carrying a machine gun. I felt very uneasy. But if you left Guatemala City and went into the outskirts of Guatemala, then you're facing cartels. They have these cartel guys, they have tattoos on their faces, and they carry around machetes. And over there, they don't really believe in, if you're doing a crime, they're going to chase you down and not arrest you, but shoot you. Right. So so Guatemala city is very, very, very haunted just because of all the deaths and murders and suicides and everything else that goes on over there. But also, too, they have what is called Tikal. And that's an old Mayan city. And what was kind of interesting about that, and they got some beautiful pyramids over there and everything else, is that I was doing some EVP work over there, and I actually got an EVP that was in Mayan language.
Ooh,
and when I went to that, so when I went back to the hotel, I was talking to the hotel registrar, and I said, "Is that Spanish?" And he goes, "No, it's not Spanish." He goes, "It sounds like Mayan." So he actually called a friend in, and that friend came in the morning time and listened to the recording, and he says, "That is Mayan, and what it's telling you is to go to the pyramid." And that in itself was incredible. But during the whole time I was in Guatemala City, I was pretty nervous because I was like the tallest person over there. and so everybody was looking at me, you know. And the Guatemalans are very, very small people. And just every soldier and every policeman with machine guns were just eyeing me like I was going to do something and saying, "Come on." And they searched my bag like 3 times over. And I got a really good deal going to Guatemala City, like $600. But the only thing is you're dealing with a lot of layovers. So I got a layover in San Jose, Costa Rica, a layover in Panama City, and I'm also a line jumper. So I managed to do some line jumping over in Belize and over in El Salvador, just across the border. Didn't really see much, but I just want to say, hey, I was there. And then got a layover in Honduras. So, but that was a very interesting trip. I was really glad to get out of there. They searched my bag like 3 times over. And I said, "You going to check my bag again? I mean, there's nothing but dirty socks in there, and you're going to still check it? You know, come on, please." You know, so, yeah, that was a very interesting trip.
What did they think you were bringing over?
Who knows? Well, finally I showed them one of my books, and that book had a picture of me. I said, "Look, I write stories on the paranormal." And before I knew it, they were telling me ghost stories in Guatemala.
No kidding. So, the people down there are pretty open to the people down there are pretty open to the whole paranormal and UFO phenomenon, aren't they?
Well, most of Latin America is in general.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And but we've got some really good local cases over here. And one of the most interesting cases that we got was one over in Vacaville. And when you go into a house and you take a lot of pictures of orbs can be almost anything. It could be dust. It could be skin flakes. It could be wind.
Right.
It could be almost anything, dewdrops, light refractions, whatever. But how do you prove that that orb is actually a spiritual containment field? Do you guys have any idea?
Right, I have no clue.
Yeah, my thought on that is if it's emitting its own aura or light as opposed to being...
Or casting its own shadow.
Well, casting its own shadow, certain particulates can do that, depending on how close you are and how far you are. But if it's emitting its own aura or light, and the camera's picking that up, that, in my opinion, determines whether it's its own energetic orb or not.
Well, that's very good. Guess how we do it?
How do you do it?
This is how we do it. We actually look for intelligent movement. And
that would be my next guess.
Okay, we had a scout over there. A scout is a ghost hunter in training, and his name was Victor Martinez. And Victor Martinez was very, very drained. He was just like laying on the couch, and we go, "What's wrong, Victor?" And he goes, "Something's draining me." You know, I mean, it was getting really bad. He almost like passed out. And the entity was Elaine. I call her Draining Elaine because she was draining all the energy off this guy. She was feeding off his energy. So I said, okay, Elaine, if you're there right next to Victor, appear on his shoulder. And we snap a photo, and there's this huge orb on his shoulder. And that tells me, you know, that's some kind of intelligence there. But let's try it again. Let's see if it's really a spiritual containment field. So I said, okay, Elaine, if you're there draining Victor's energy, kiss him on the lips. We take a photo, and there's an orb on his mouth showing intelligence.
So this is a horny orb.
What's that?
This is a horny orb.
Oh, it's a horny
Kissing
orb,
him.
yes. Yes, it
That's
is.
just wrong
Totally.
on so many levels. It's not funny.
Hey, people have said they've been attacked at night by spirits and, you know, taken advantage of. Have you come across those kind of reports, Paul?
Oh, well, we did a case over in Gilroy. Okay. And I brought with me one of my top psychics. Her name's Monique. I never could say her last name right. Polka Scott. Okay. Anyway, she has one of those last names that's really difficult. But anyway, I took her to Gilroy. And this family, they had a daughter who was actually attacked by the entity. And the entity possessed her. And when it possessed her, she was saying that she was going to kill the whole family. And then we're talking about a girl who's maybe about 14, 15 years old. I mean, really, if you saw her, like she was like a sweet, innocent little girl. And Monique, who happens to actually be here right now tonight with me, Monique, she walked into the house, never been there her whole life, never talked to the occupant. I talked to the occupant, and I knew where the hot spot was. But out of all the bedrooms in that place, there was something like 5 bedrooms. She selects the one bedroom that was the hot spot. And she goes, there's something going on with that bedroom right there. And she goes, I believe that's the hot spot. And then when she walks into the bedroom, she looks at the bed. There's 2 beds in there. She goes, if you pull the mattress from this bed right here, there's something evil. And so we asked permission from the occupant if we can go ahead and turn the bed over. And we found a document, and it was a curse. On the document was a fire demon. On the document was a girl that she was familiar with. And on the document was 2 fighters, one getting beat up very, very bad. So the curse was that she was summoning a demon to empower her to throw a curse upon a girl that she did not like and to have that girl beat up. And Monique, she's always impressed me. She has a sister named Chantel, too, and she's impressed me. They're very, very good psychics. And Monique, tonight, if you guys want to hear it, but she has a very, very interesting story, a UFO story from Capay.
Oh, nice.
And
Love to hear that.
Yeah. So, we're not going to a break or anything right now, right?
No. We're not going to break for a little bit. Let's segue to ufology for a second here, because in the segment before we had you on, we had Dr. Joseph Mara, and I asked him a question which I like to ask guests just to see what their reaction is or what their opinion is on this. What do you think of the possibility that everything is interconnected? I'm talking about ufology, paranormal, aliens, ghosts. It's all one and the same.
Well, it seems like aliens are very much aware of ghosts. And the reason why I say that is because there have been some abductees who make claim that the aliens, the Greys, had actually relayed information to them with telepathic communications that we are just vessels. And for them to say something like that, and trying to also to put out the importance that there's an energy body within our mortal body. So, and there's several abductees who make mention of that. So there's that connection where the aliens are aware, let's say, of spiritual type beings. Bigfoot has been seen with around UFO activity. We have cases over Mount Shasta where people have seen lights in the sky and they've seen UFOs, but later on they see a Bigfoot, or they see a Bigfoot and then later on they see UFOs. So there seems like there's a connection there. And if you go back to the Sumerian clay tablets, they mention a creature that looks similar to Bigfoot that went underground. So I think, yeah, everything connects.
Well, the reason I like asking that, and I think, you know, you being the investigator you are, you might have come across maybe some information on this. You know, my theory has been for a long time that a lot of our mythology on this planet, a lot of the history on this planet, like demons, leprechauns, and all kinds of creatures like this, are actually misidentified aliens. You know, man back a couple thousand years ago didn't have the concept that we have now about extraterrestrials, planets. Hell, they might have thought the Earth was flat, right, back then. So there was really no concept of other planets or outer space per se. What are the chances that throughout the history we've kind of misidentified contact with aliens as demons being possessing people or whatever, and it's just aliens abducting people?
Well, one thing is, okay, if demons never had a corporal form, it would make them either interdimensional or it would make them extraterrestrial. Even Jesus said to one of his apostles, I am not of this world. If you're not terrestrial, if you're not of this world, that makes you extraterrestrial. Right. So, demons were either dealing with an interdimensional being that never had a human form, or we're dealing with something that's extraterrestrial, that's pure energy. And they said that if mankind were to evolve to its highest level, we would be pure energy. No longer would we have to eat. No longer would we have to use the restroom.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
It could get a little messy, though, let me tell you. We never have to use the restroom again. I don't know. I'm going to be a little bloated after 6 months.
And also, too, like in the quantum level, we are pure energy. I mean, so if we evolve all the way to the highest point, we would be energy beings. So, and I believe that probably demons are energy beings. They have to be if they possess people. Like the case, we had this one case over, where was that case at? Oh, it was, the demon identified itself as Balaam, and we actually have a video footage of this lady who was possessed. And
what was the demon's name again? Balaam?
Huh? Balaam, yeah.
Okay.
And that's a real demon. It was supposed to be like he was a general of 7 legions of demons, blah blah blah, whatever.
Wow.
But she selected the name Balaam. Okay. So, and this happened over in Tracy, and supposedly the psychic never knew who the occupant was, blah, blah, blah. That was the first time they met. But yet she was able to relate while she was possessed that she played with a Ouija board and she did a blood ritual. The blood ritual was really minute. She merely sliced her index finger, bled on a piece of paper. On the paper she said, F all that, and wadded it into a little ball and set it on fire. Okay, if you want to call that a blood ritual. Okay, when someone is actually possessed by a demon, if they're not spider crawling on the ceiling, I have a hard time believing it. I mean, I have to say that this woman who may claim that she's a Santeria priestess was very impressive. It looked very real, but I think that she does it a whole lot of times on a lot of cases. That's why she does it so well. She's just a great, great actress. But I didn't see her spider crawling on the ceiling. I didn't see her levitate. So I really, really have a hard time actually believing it. But a lot of the investigators watching her, we actually filmed it. I mean, it got a lot of hits and everything. It does look believable, but I'm just...
Something didn't feel right?
Huh?
Something didn't feel right, or you just got the wrong vibe from it, or you just think her practice made perfect?
Yeah, well, practice makes perfect. And I really do believe that she does this probably a lot. And okay, if she was really, really possessed, then why isn't she doing something more of a supernatural level? Why isn't she levitating? Why isn't she being sucked up into the ceiling and crawling up on the ceiling?
Have you seen people actually levitate? Have you seen the people that are possessed that actually levitate?
With the 800 investigations that I've been on, absolutely no.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay,
but,
let me ask you.
Even
ask
Chris
you this.
Angel makes people levitate. No,
Hold on. With all the possession experiences that you've investigated, have you seen or been able to record any paranormal activity with possession claims?
Like with EVP. We did get a lot of EVPs in that house. So it's like maybe, maybe not. Okay?
No, but I'm saying with all the investigations you did, with all the investigations you did for people that were possessed, how many of them were you able to record paranormal occurrences with when in front of when they're doing something paranormal?
There was only one case, and I think I've actually talked about this case once with a jackal, and that was with the two ladies, and their faces actually distorted in front of my face. Yeah, I did tell you about that story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And remember, this is Dark Matter Radio Network, so the listeners here have not heard this story, so share with us.
Oh, okay. So I was a beginning paranormal investigator. I was new on the job. So one of the things I always learn now is to take another investigator with you. One, it's good to have a witness. Two, you need someone to watch your back. Okay. And this lady, she was like in her 60s, and she had a goddaughter probably in her 30s. And they lived over in Thornton, which is near Sacramento. And they said, Paul, we see this black mass around about 3 o'clock in the morning. We get sexually attacked, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And I said, well, I happen to be in Stockton, which is really near Thornton. And I said, yeah, I could stop by and check things out. So I'm over there with my laptop, doing the story and everything else, interviewing these ladies. And they seem like really, really sweet ladies. And they in fact, they take care of parrots. They had all these parrots in the house. So they told me if I hung around the house, I'm going to see this black mass. And they start showing me bite marks on their chest and on their legs. And I started thinking to myself, maybe they gave those bite marks to themselves. So anyway, as I continue on with the interview, I'm looking at the older woman in her 60s, very sweet lady, and I swear on a stack of Bibles, her face was distorting to something very, very hideous and very, very evil. And I said, God, is that my imagination or what? I mean, she really looked evil. And I continued on with the story. She goes, Paul, I have visions. I go, what kind of visions? She goes, I have visions of killing men. I go, wow, okay. Mind you, I'm the only man in that house.
At this point, you must have been terrified.
Yeah. So anyway, I can.
Your body's thinking, I know horror movies that start like this. This is not good for me.
So anyway, I go, okay, so what kind of visions about killing men? How are you killing them? Are you shooting them? She goes, no, I'm taking a baseball bat and I'm bashing her brains out.
Whoa.
Okay.
Lovely.
Are you serious? Oh my God. And I continue on with the interview. hoping that things would mellow out and that maybe her face would stop distorting. And about 15 minutes later, I'm looking in the living room from where I'm typing at, and I see the goddaughter, and she's holding a baseball bat, and she's going around in circles, over and over again with this really crazy look on her face, with this smile and doing this crazy laughter, and carrying this baseball bat and going around in circles, going around and around and around. And I go, oh my God, I need to get out of here. So the way I got out of there is, one, they were seeking publicity. So they wanted me to write a story. That's what I was doing. I had my laptop there. And I said, you know what? I said, I just live down the street. I got to get this to the publishers because this thing is so hot, it's going to go on CNN News. They go, what? I go, really? I'm serious. This is a hot story. And I said, I'll be back. I'll be back in time for the black mass down your hallway about 3 o'clock in the morning when it sexually attacks you. I will be back to see that. And they go, really? You're coming back? I said, I'm absolutely coming back.
Guaranteed.
And I took I took off in my car, left my cell phone there, and the very next day I had a Sonoma scouting mission, in which a lot of people were going to be there. But here I didn't even have a cell phone to call the scouts who were going to meet me down in Sonoma. I mean, I took out of that house so fast. It was crazy. And when they didn't see the story published, I was getting threats from them and everything else. I had to get the police involved. And finally they backed off. So, yeah, that was one of my craziest. That must have been
terrifying.
It was terrifying, yeah. And I learned never go into a place by myself. I don't care if it's a 60-year-old sweet-looking woman with her very sweet 30-year-old goddaughter. I'm just not doing it.
Sometimes the sweeter they look, the worse they actually could be. I mean, I've seen horror movies, man. I know how it is. I know how these things get started. Little sweet old lady, next thing you know, you're getting chopped into pieces by her nephew.
Oh my God! Hey, okay, I got to tell you both something here. When I became a paranormal investigator, for a while there, I was getting very, very disappointed because I absolutely did not believe there was an afterlife. Nothing was happening. And even though we were getting EVPs, I wasn't impressed. I said, those voices could be coming from another room.
Right.
I'm not impressed with this.
That's where I'm at right now, by the way, personally.
What's that?
That's where I'm at That's where I'm at personally right now, myself.
Really?
With the afterlife? Yeah, I'm
really?
right there where you were. That's where I'm at right now, personally. My personal beliefs.
Wow. Okay. So, that's how I was feeling. Okay, I was
shocking.
Very
I know.
Disappointed.
I know.
Huh?
It's shocking. I know.
I was very, very disappointed. I said, nothing's happening. And I almost quit being a paranormal investigator and almost went back into the comic book business. And it was this one house in Citrus Heights, and they told me to go ahead and take some scouts, ghost hunters in training over there. So I took 15 scouts over there. And I said, I don't know why we're investigating this place because I've already been here. We didn't get no EVPs, nothing. It's not even haunted. And the owner at the time told me, Paul, it is haunted because we actually did an investigation. We got some EVPs there. And I go, really? Okay, well, I'll check it out. So she goes, well, it'll be good training for them. I said, all right. So I put five scouts in one room, five scouts in another room. And 10 of them were falling asleep because nothing was happening. So I went into this one room with 5 scouts, and you can hear a little girl giggling. And I said, wow, you can actually hear this girl giggling. So
that's always
I
creepy.
said, are you guys, what's that?
That's always a little creepy.
Yeah. And I was looking at scouts. I go, are you guys hearing this? And they go, yeah, we're hearing it. We're recording it. And she giggles again. I said, wow, she's no more than 3 feet in front of me. She must be sitting on the corner of this bed, but I'm not seeing her. And so she giggles again. I put my head down to where the giggle was, and I go, hello. And she goes, hello. And I go, holy crap. And so I brought yeah. So right there, I became a believer, and I brought all the scouts in there. I said, oh, my God, this is happening, this is happening. So we were over there doing a seance, and while we're doing the seance, the walls are starting to, they sound like they were just ripping down the sides there. There was like a series of hard knocks on the walls, and all 15 scouts are running out the door. And I had to get them back in. I said, we have to reconvene. This is a breakthrough. I said, we must continue on. So I got them all back. We're doing the seance again. Mind you, there's 5 walkie-talkies on the floor. And one walkie-talkie turns on, and it's a man's voice, and he goes, get out. And all 15 are running out the door again. And so at that point in time, the occupant looks at me. She goes, Paul, she goes, I have to live here. Maybe we should stop. I go, okay, we'll stop. And she goes, you can spend the night here. I go, really? Okay, cool. So I spent the night there. We have video camera running through the whole night. And as I'm laying on the bed, you can hear like a little tapping on the headboard. You can hear a woman say, Paul, Paul, Paul. And you can hear a man mumbling. And you can hear a little boy, like he's moaning at the foot of the bed. And I slept through the whole thing. And that was an amazing, amazing place.
And you slept through the whole thing?
I slept through the whole thing. And since I've been an
Jesus.
investigator with 800 investigations, I've seen something like 4 full-body apparitions.
Oh, really? See, for me, it's a little hard to believe in an afterlife because I've never seen a ghost myself. I've seen a UFO in the sky, so I believe in aliens. I believe there's something there. It's just a little tough for me to believe. Now, when you saw your full-body apparitions, how did they? I mean, did they acknowledge your presence? Did they interact with you? How did that go?
Well, the first one, I actually was at this old house. It was built back in the 1800s. On the second floor, I was taking pictures, and I was taking a picture of a huge red orb. And this red orb was about 6 feet tall. I mean, that orb was
That's
huge.
a big orb. That's a big orb.
Yeah, that's a big orb. It was going from the left-hand side of the house to the right-hand side and down the steps. So a series of pictures has this huge red orb going from the left to the right and down the steps towards me. Okay, so I'm holding the camera. I go, wow, that is really incredible. So I'm talking to the 2 ladies, and I look up, and there's a woman in a bathrobe. There's nobody up there. There's a woman in a bathrobe, and she's walking from one loft to the other loft, and she's barefooted, and she has, like, dirty blonde hair. And I'm like a deer in headlights. I'm holding the camera to my chest, and I'm just fascinated at what I'm seeing. And the 2 ladies are still talking, and they're oblivious to what is actually going on. And then all of a sudden I raise the camera, snap, and I get nothing. And I said, did you guys see that? They go, see what? I go, oh my gosh, there was a full body happening. They go, sure, Paul. I saw it.
Sure, we believe you, sure.
Paul needs to take a nap, I think. Paul's been working with him hard.
But I think that more or less was residual. But I did see a full-body apparition of an Italian man in the mausoleum, and I was with Chantel at the time, and Chantel was actually behind me, and I could see the full-body apparition of an Italian man, looked like an Italian man with a long nose, and he had folded arms, and he was like staring at me very mean. I said, oh, wow. I said, Chantal, I don't think we're supposed to be here because I think the carrot keeper is telling us we need to leave just with his looks, and I'm very sorry, sir. I'm looking at the viewfinder. I look up, and there's nobody there. I go, Chantal, oh, my God. I said, this Italian man, he's on my viewfinder, but I'm looking over the camera. He's not there. Chantal goes, Paul, stop it because now you're making me scared.
And she's a psychic.
Huh?
Is she psychic?
Yeah, she's a psychic. Yeah. Oh my God!
This is not supposed to scare the psychic.
I know.
That's funny.
Oh my God! I actually got them both here. Oh my God, Chantel, she did this incredible thing. That was over in Sacramento, and that's when I knew that Chantel was actually a psychic. Anyway, we're at this house, and she goes outside, and she starts throwing up. I go, "You got the flu or something, Chantel?" She goes, No. She goes, "I'm at 100%, and I'm actually picking up something in the house." And she starts turning blue in the face. And she, looks over in the corner, and she starts describing this little boy. And the little girl starts crying, and I go, "What are you crying about?" And she goes, "She's talking about my boyfriend. He was killed in a gang shooting or whatever."
Oh,
and
wow.
I said, "What?" And Chantel's describing this kid in full details, clothes that he's wearing, his hair, everything else. And the dude is floating on the ceiling. And as she's communicating with this little boy, all of a sudden she goes, "He's telling me that you need to go back there. There's this purse, and the color is so-and-so, and inside of it is a white candle." The little girl runs to the bedroom, pulls out that purse that she's talking about, and sure enough, there's a white candle. Chantel has not been exploring the house. She's only been in that living room, but yet she knew about this purse off in the bedroom. So that was one incredible, right there at that point. I mean, I deal with a lot of psychics, and a lot of times I don't even believe them. And a lot of them are sham artists. I've worked with some of the best sham artists, psychics, and I tested them, and I knew they were shams. But Chantel, I have to admit, is a legit psychic. Her sister Monique, she impresses me. Sometimes it's like I have to clear my mind because Monique will be telling me what I'm thinking about. And it's not
That's
always
not
clean.
good.
So
that's not a good way to have a friendship with somebody when they know what you're thinking.
But Monique is over here dying to tell you about that UFO story.
Yeah, you know what?
Can I put her on real quick?
Put her on the phone. I'm dying to hear about this UFO story.
Okay. Tell them about. Okay.
By the way,
This is Monique.
guys, you're listening to Monique. She's going to join us here on Skywatchers Radio on the Dark Matter Radio Network. We've been talking to Paul Dale Roberts, and now Monique is going to share her UFO encounter story. Monique, are you there?
Hello. Yes, I am, and happy Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas to you, my dear.
Thank you so very much. This one was really kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody knows where Cache Creek is, just past the KPA Valley. When I was lived in an area called Gwenda, there's no lights out there. There's a few farms here and there, but they're about 2 to 5 miles apart. So you have a beautiful view of the stars at night. This was a hot August night. I was staying to help out with the horses, and so a tin roof for the little. Basically, it's an RV. They have like a tin roof. So very, very hot. Decided to go outside and watch the stars. Beautiful, tons and tons of stars. I see all of a sudden these yellow eyes, and there's like a dozen yellow eyes. They're running really, really quickly towards the direction I was in. And they very much stood out. I realized there was coyotes coming this way. So I grabbed the cat, which had a name called Kitty Gato, English, Spanish, that sounds Japanese. So I'm calling Kitty Gato. I grab her, run back in the house. A few minutes later, you hear all the gunshots going down the canyon. Everybody's trying to chase the coyotes away from the livestock up and down the canyon. At that point, it's all calm. It's far enough away. I feel comfortable. I'm back out looking at the stars. As I'm watching these beautiful, gorgeous stars, the temperature slightly changes. This mist rolls over. Now, normally when mist and fog comes over, there's a waterway. It's accumulation of water. We never had mist in the specific place that I was at. So, long story short, the mist goes away. I'm looking at the stars, but there's only 4 stars left. It was almost like a cloaking device. Thousands of stars, mist comes in, temperature changes, mist goes away, like 4 stars left. That was the experience. It wasn't the crazy yellow eyes because you're out in the country. You expect the unexpected. However, You do not expect to be...
Is that the only time you've seen lights in the sky like that? No?
No. In that area specifically, on the other side, you have the area where Travis Air Force Base does a lot of test flying. On the other side is Napa Petaluma. So there's like a huge canyon in that area. Shortly after this experience, however, that whole valley caught on fire. But at that time, there was hovering, like I couldn't figure out, now a plane cannot take 2 hours to go down straight and then another one come up, like a quarter mile over to the right, just shooting out like light orbs. I was trying to figure out, is this a plane? Is this this? Is this that? And constantly kind of watching this area because you would notice stuff like shrubs moving. So you realize that they're doing military maneuvers out there, and trying to do the camouflage thing.
Right.
But the light thing I could not figure out, and the stars being there and not being there was extremely strange. And cylinders of light that looked like giant flashlights coming from the sky, but nothing above it. Walking around, and we had 100 acres, which was nothing in comparison to how far you could go out and see, the way that the moonlight and the light would light up the crevices in this basin that surrounded it. It was this slight, luminous, glowy feeling already. So without all the city lights that cause distractions, you're not hearing sirens, you're not hearing, and God forbid anybody drives up. When you're living out in the country like that, people are scared to death to drive 5 miles up to find a house.
Right.
They just don't do it. They're thinking heels on ice, freaky stuff. So when people live there, you have a different type of security. You're not afraid that somebody's going to sneak up on you. You can fall asleep on a lawn chair out front and be very comfortable. So it wasn't a matter of hysteria. It wasn't this and that. And I tried to get my father, who at the time was like 67, to go out there. And he's like, Mia, you just think there was that many stars. And he was trying to give me some explanation about the atmosphere, could be doing this and that, and, doing anything he can. And his brother, my uncle, is a PhD and also happened to work for NASA. So we were taught at a very young age that if you take a stick in the shape of a Y and keep your perspective, there's going to be a certain amount of movement, but everything has to be even. If you have something zipping in and out between that space, it could possibly be other than, what you expect. And UFO does stand for unidentified flying objects. Well, in my opinion, I don't know if it was government or not, and if it is, Star Trek had nothing on them, because what I saw was extremely real. I will never doubt what I saw. It was real. 1 million stars, and then only like 4 or 5.
Yeah, no.
And the only difference in between was not, it was moments.
That's
so there's no way our
incredible
planet
story.
could flip like that.
Monique, have you ever done any channeling yourself and try to channel like ET beings? For a long time we tried to go ahead and be normal kids. Okay. But myself and my sisters and my mother and my aunts and my grandma, we had this ability. We had this type of mom that can just look at us, and we knew that we were screwing up or we were being good, Same as my mother.
That, all the emotions, One of those type of mothers, and God forbid if she ever raised an eyebrow. So in this, it enlightened our senses. We didn't have all the plastic toys, and iPads and Googles,
Right.
And half the time, being Native American mainly, we grew up in, I was born in 1968. So we were up and down California. My mother was Native American and a flower child. So we lived on all kinds of reservations and communes and saw a lot of unexplainable events that made us very, very strong. But it intuned us more so with how to observe things. So we observe a little bit more. And my very good friend that I've known since I was 15 says, well, Monique, of course you're going to observe this and you're going to observe that and, blah, blah, blah. Don't get too full of yourself. But it is to the point where, I understand body language or something enough where I could walk into a room and without realizing it, I just start going blah, 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 blah. And the most obscure, strangest thing, and it only applies to the person's house that we're in. And then there's other times I cannot speak a word. And I just feel like, I have complete autism. Just utter nothing.
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think you freeze up and you can't say a word?
I think there's times for us to speak, and then I think there's times where we really got to think about what Mark Twain said, and we can't argue amongst those. And so to protect myself, I learned how to put a shield around myself.
Gotcha.
One thing I'm really good at is spotting danger, but I have no fear. And what I realized, if you do believe in God, and if you do believe in those type of entities, that wait a second, fear, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Your energy, what we project is our own projection.
Now, here's the same question.
If they're alive or dead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it doesn't matter if we're alive or dead. The energy, true energy, has a force of its own. You're going to attract negative or positive. If you attract positive, then you're going to project, a shield.
Right.
And help those persons that when you look in their eyes, they might be homeless or they might be just isolated or shut in, whatever it is. But when we take the time to look in their eyes, what's really going on? And you take a moment, to do that. If we have pets, we take a moment for our pets. Why can't we do that for another human being?
Well, they do say that the window to the soul is the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, real quick question, not to sidetrack you too much, we're running short on time, but I did want to ask you something that I asked Paul Dale Roberts earlier, and I asked our first segment with Dr. Joseph Mara that we had on earlier. Do you think that it's all interconnected, and do you think that aliens and ghosts and demons, and it's all really one phenomenon, and we're just kind of discovering the phenomenon? It's all right now the tip of the iceberg for what really might be going on. And can psychics like yourself and other people who actually have an ability do a little bit more to actually bridge that gap to where we maybe have disclosure because of what you can do compared to what the government knows?
Well, thank you for asking that question.
That's a loaded question.
No, it's not. It's a perfect, wonderful question because being who I am and being in the family that I am, we were always told that we are the children of God. We always knew that we were protected in the ark of the covenant of God. So even if a nuclear explosion happens in front of us, we are protected within God. It is our job to be lights even in the darkest areas. Now, when my mother would become very, very upset at me, she used to say, "Your father was an alien," Of course, I was a horrible little teenager. So this was like, okay, well, wait a minute. I'm up in Humboldt, and I'm checking my mail, and there's nobody around. I mean, empty, like 3 buildings down. Midnight, I'm checking my mail. A lady comes and taps me on my shoulder, and she goes, "Your mother is a mermaid, and your father was a fallen angel." And then the lady disappeared. What the heck is that? But that's been happening since I was very, very little. Since I've been very little, I've been able to have more understanding of people, but expected at a higher level to be responsible for not only my own actions, but to look for the best in people and let them know. Make a connection, make a hug. At Denny's last week, I think I got 5 hugs from total strangers. And they all see something in me, but just as I can be very nice, I get my feelings hurt and it gets lost too. So I try to be on the better side of that. As far as aliens go, I think they've always been around us.
But do you think it's the same kind of phenomenon? Do you think it's all interconnected to
yes,
ghost realms?
When I was very little, residual. I was taught that there's real and then there's residual. Residuals, think about the shutter effect, okay? Any given time in the planet's history, a bird flies over the sun, there's a crystal. Maybe it's amber in a tree that's crystallized. The shutter effect happens, and that crystal keeps the memory. When we walk through an old building, sometimes the memories get caught within the glass. The sun projects just right. We walk by. We're seeing a projected image that was caught within the crystal with old things. So we are seeing a reflection of. We get frightened of what we do not understand. But if we do open up ourselves and realize, wait a second, we are all interconnected, and we need to stop being afraid of things and realize that we are perfect in who we are. After all, God did not waste his time making you or me. So we have to look into things and not say, oh, well, this person's crazy and that person's crazy, because there is explanation. Is there evil? Well, you know there's evil. Everybody in this world has seen some kind of form of evil, because otherwise the craziness does not make sense.
Well, when you say evil,
was a wonderful person before.
Well, no, when you say evil, though, real quick, when you say evil, do you mean evil as a spirit form, like the devil controlling the planet evil, or just like an evil entity that controls all mankind, or are we just inherently evil within ourselves? Explain evil.
I think we have a choice. But have I seen real evil? Oh, yeah. Okay, to the point where I can walk down any dark alley, and I don't care if they have guns, hammers, brooms, you name it. I am not afraid to walk down the street anywhere. Because, yes, unfortunately, at times, I was born in 1968, okay, and not to get too emotional about this, but during the times where I had lived, I don't know if you're familiar with the family, but after a certain person went to prison, part of the commune that I was in was the family.
Which family are we talking about?
I know which one she's talking about. Yeah, okay.
Yes, okay. And I don't want to get into all of that, but they said the person that went to prison was nothing but a puppet. They made him look like, cream cheese served with strawberries. And those were things that took years and years. So have I seen evil? Oh, yeah. But it's my job not to absorb those things. It's my job in this life for me as my human to be the best person I can be. My events that occurred, those were just events in the environment that I witnessed. So the only way that I could make it through was not become bitter or jaded and help lesser persons than I. So I do believe in evil. I've seen it firsthand.
Well, I completely agree. I think there is an uncurable evil in this planet. And
yes.
Unfortunately, it's uncurable because we're all kind of inherently objected to having it within us. Listen, we're almost out of time here, and it's a shame because I could do
work. Love does work. Okay,
I could go on another hour with you easily, but we're almost out of time. I just want to thank you so much for being with us, Monique, and Paul Dale Roberts also for being our guest here with us for most part of the second hour. You're lovely, and we'll definitely love to have all of you guys back on. Paul, thank you so much for being with us. We are just about 2 minutes before we have to get going. Just want to let everybody know real quick. Give everybody your website address so everybody who wants to get a hold of you and find out about your research. Let them know how to get to you.
And sounds good. It's www.jasmaonline.com.
Once again, thank you, Paul, and guys, we'll be back next Tuesday on Skywatchers Radio. Good night.
Still kind of hurt. So anyway,
Ouch.
Hang in there with me. Yeah. So it was pretty bad. So anyway, I did the North thing in Germany.
So if you
Germany. Huh?
If you start slurring a little bit, guys, we understand. Don't worry.
Okay. So anyway, traveled throughout Germany, and they had a thing called the Khaki Mafia, and they were doing everything from prostitution, running drugs, to Amsterdam, dealing narcotics out there and everything else. So I was very, very busy with that. I was staying in nice 5-star hotels, wearing civilian clothes, pretending I was a drug dealer myself, and buying drugs and testifying at Article 32s and court-martials. So in 1976, I got out, and by hanging out in a lot of discotheques, I learned how to dance. So I became a dancer, a professional dancer with Arthur Murray's dance dance studios, and I danced for 205 hours, 8.5 days for the Guinness Book of World Records. And so I was a disco king for a while. Did a little bit of firefighting in between there. 1979, I went back into the Army, went into military intelligence, and I was inspired by watching that James Bond movie. I was sitting there watching James Bond, and I said, what is it that those military intelligence guys did? So before I knew it, I was talking to an Army recruiter, signing the dotted line, and became a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst of a photo interpretation center in Korea, in Seoul, Korea. So that's where I learned that military intelligence knew something about UFOs, and we can get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And then in 1986, I got out, worked for the state, got into comic books, became a journalist for various comic book magazines. And then I was dating a girl that was a ghost hunter, and before I knew it, I was writing stories about the paranormal and becoming a paranormal investigator. Now I own HPI International, which is Hegel Intelligence, Hegel Paranormal Intelligence. And what we do is, there was a George Hegel who was a philosopher, and he took the pros and cons of any given thing, and with the pros and cons, and came out with a conclusion. And that's basically what we do with our group.
Now, what do you specialize in mostly, paranormal-wise? UFO hunting, ghost hunting. What's been your specialty?
Okay. Well, one thing is there's like a billion ghosts out there. It seems like everybody dies and everybody becomes a ghost. Okay. So
that's what
there's
they say,
a lot of So there's a lot of cases with ghosts. We try to do other cases like in Mount Shasta with UFOs, Bigfoot. I've been to Skinwalker Ranch. I've been to Area 51. I did travel internationally. That's why we're international. I just came back from Guatemala, where there's a lot of ghosts there because the former president slaughtered about 1,500 of the citizens over there. They had genocide going on over there for a while.
That would create a lot of ghosts, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would create a lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
And the president that they have now has released the former president out of prison. And they said that he's committing genocide now. What was kind of interesting about Guatemala is that every security guard, every policeman, and every soldier was carrying a machine gun. I felt very uneasy. But if you left Guatemala City and went into the outskirts of Guatemala, then you're facing cartels. They have these cartel guys, they have tattoos on their faces, and they carry around machetes. And over there, they don't really believe in, if you're doing a crime, they're going to chase you down and not arrest you, but shoot you. Right. So so Guatemala city is very, very, very haunted just because of all the deaths and murders and suicides and everything else that goes on over there. But also, too, they have what is called Tikal. And that's an old Mayan city. And what was kind of interesting about that, and they got some beautiful pyramids over there and everything else, is that I was doing some EVP work over there, and I actually got an EVP that was in Mayan language.
Ooh.
And when I looked at that, so when I went back to the hotel, I was talking to the hotel registrar, and I said, "Is that Spanish?" And he goes, "No, it's not Spanish." He goes, "It sounds like Mayan." So he actually called a friend in, and that friend came in the morning time and listened to the recording, and he says, "That is Mayan, and what it's telling you is to go to the pyramid." And that is
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Paul Dale Roberts, welcome back to Skywatchers Radio, my friend. It's so good to have you back on.
Jackal, thank you for having me on. So I just can't wait to get into the show.
Listen, I was giving the audience a kind of a tease. Of course, we went over the military records and stuff. But give the audience a brief rundown about your history as best as you could tell it, because, man, you've lived one heck of a life. And you're still a young guy. You're not like an old fogey or anything. You're still a pretty young, hip dude. So give us a little bit of a rundown about all the stuff, a little bit of everything that you've done in the last 30 years.
Well, from 73 to 76, I went in the Army.
It's a little bit more than 30, but that's good. Go ahead.
73 to 76 in the Army as an MP military policeman. And there was a major drug problem going on over in Germany, so I was working with the drug suppression team. It was CID, Criminal Investigation Division. And, Jackal, you're going to have to excuse me, but I had a root canal yesterday, and so my teeth